Before we get into today's content, I want to get the pulse of the Ravens fans. Do you guys think that Suggs and Yanda should have made the Hall of Fame last night? They got snubbed. At least that's what I believe. If you're there with me, go ahead, hit that thumbs up button, and cast your vote. Hopefully they'll be a part of the 2027 Hall of Fame class. But if you think they should have made it in that last night, go ahead and like today's video. Jesse Minter just keeps on cooking, ladies and gentlemen. Jeff Zreback tweeted this out late last night and then got confirmed about an hour later, but he said the Ravens are close to a deal to hire University of Michigan defensive line coach Lou Esposito. Per sources, he'll coach the Ravens defensive line. That deal ended up going down, and I think this is another great hire by one Jesse Minter. Esposito has been around the block a decent bit over the last decade and a half, really only spending his time in college football. He was the defensive line coach for Western Michigan from 2010 to 2012, then took over as defensive coordinator for Ferris State. Then he went to Davenport, where he was the head coach for 3 seasons, back to Western Michigan as their defensive coordinator and defensive line coach. And then in 2024, just after Jesse Minter left, he took over as the defensive line coach under Sharon Moore for the Michigan Wolverines. And he has had an impressive track record over the last 2 seasons. I mean, the draft picks really speak for themselves. You look at just the 2025 NFL draft. Mason Graham taken number 5 overall. Kenneth Grant taken number 13 overall. 2 Michigan defensive linemen developed by Lou Esposito taken in the top half of the first round of the NFL draft. But that was not it for last year, because Josaiah Stewart, 90th overall pick to the Los Angeles Rams. And then this year as well, you got Derrick Moore projecting to be a 3rd-round selection. Rayshaun projected to be a 6th-round selection. That is 5 draft picks. 4 of them in the first 2 days. 1 of them the 6th round in the last 2 seasons just on his defensive line. Guys, that would be a really good statistics for a college football team. But that's just his position group. I really, really, really like this move a lot. Everything I've heard from guys like Kenneth Grant and Mason Graham, when they've spoken on Lou Esposito, it is only positive things. I love the way that he coaches these guys. He's very firm, very old school, but still very relational. You could tell how relational he was with how good of a recruiter he was over there in Michigan. And this is the benefit of having a coach like Jesse Minter in your building that has a ton of connections in college, right? That was a big discussion point about Jesse Minter in this hiring process was, I don't know if he has enough NFL connections. It was kind of looked at as a negative of how much time he spent in college, and I don't think we realized how much of a positive it would and could be to find diamonds in the rough like this at the collegiate level that a lot of people would probably just pass on. Grade the hire for me. A, B, C, D, or F down below in the comment section. I'm going to give this one probably an A-, okay? I think it's at least in that A range. You let me know what you think down below. Michigan, most famously over the past couple of seasons, I guess not this last year, but have dominated Ohio State, and they've done it on the backs of their defensive line. Don't believe me? Hear from college football analyst Joel Klatt, who has glowing things to say about Esposito's group in 2024. Michigan's defensive line is just excellent, and I mean excellent. They are, I think, the best defensive line in the country. When you have the combination of the edge rushers that they have as well as the defensive tackles, that was a huge advantage for Michigan, so they wanted the game to be played in the trenches. They wanted those front 4 to have their say in the outcome of the game, which is exactly what happened. And I hear that quote right there from Joel Klatt, and I question, look, when is the last time that that's happened for Baltimore? When is the last time we've been able to say that about a Baltimore Ravens defensive line? Because it feels like it's been a very, very long time. Definitely not since I've taken over as the host of this channel. Past 2 seasons, we haven't been able to do that, to say that. This last year, sacks, 29th. Quarterback pressures, 19th. Quarterback pressure rate, 29.7, less than 30%. That was bottom 4 in the NFL. Your sack number was bottom 4 in the NFL. The pass rush win rate was 30th or 30%, 28th in the NFL, bottom 5. If you don't know what pass rush win rate is, it's basically what percent of your pass rushes do you get off your block in 2.5 seconds or under? How often do you win that pass rush between you and that offensive lineman? They did not do it at a high clip, only 30% last year. And when I look at this defensive line group, right, I see a lot of free agents. I see talent. Travis Jones maybe getting back Nnamdi Betabike, but obviously he's been injured. I look at the edge rushers. Kyle Van Noy, he is a unrestricted free agent. I look at a guy like Mike Green. He's going into his rookie year. There's a lot of promise with these units, promise with these players, especially a guy like Mike Green. But you just all you got in your edge rushers is Tavius Robinson, Mike Green, and Adisa Isaac next year. So you need to add, but most importantly, you needed to get a guy in the building that you could have confidence in coaching these guys up. We said on the offensive line as well, like when they hired Dwayne Ledford from Atlanta, that was probably the biggest move that Jesse Minter had made so far, and I would still say it's one of his best moves in this process because what he'd been able to do in Atlanta was impressive. And the Ravens on the offensive side of the trenches, they were not impressive last year. So the staff is rounding out. Only need 2 more spots on the offensive side, wide receiver and tight ends. Only need 1 more spot on the defensive side of the football at the outside linebacker position. And then your staff is ready, set, and then you just got to focus on free agency, which is happening about a month from now. Coming up on today's show, don't go anywhere. We got some off-season edge targets. Let's pair some people up with Lou Esposito. What do you say? We're going to look at the free agency. We're going to look at draft. We're going to look at all those things. I'm going to tell you my 5 players that I think the Baltimore Ravens should be looking at over these next couple of months. I want you to fill in the blank for me, though, real quickly. The Ravens will have blank sacks in 2026. What's that answer? Hopefully it's something over 50. We'll have to wait and find out. I got a lot of faith in Lou Esposito, though. Another thing I got a lot of faith in is the fact that you will love our sponsor of today's show, our great friends over at Prize Picks, and the big game is almost here. In fact, it is just in a matter of a few days. And there's no better way to cash in during America's biggest sporting event than Prize Picks, where it always feels good to be right. And since the big game is right around the corner, that also means it's your last chance to get into the football action before next season. So close the season out right with Prize Picks by getting $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. This week's Prize Picks has a special max discount for the big game live in the app right now. Drake May just needs 1 passing yard for the max discount to win. Just add another player to your lineup, and if your picks hit, you can cash in. Join millions of users and sign up for America's #1 sports picks app. Here's my lineup for the big game on Sunday. I'm taking the more on that Drake May, half a passing yard. I got the less on Ramondre Stevenson, 50.5 rush yards. Give me the more on Cooper Kupp, 32.5 receiving yards. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Link to this promo is in the comments and description of today's video. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. All right, let's start with the NFL draft. I think the most intriguing prospect, in my opinion, on the defensive line, one of them, I'd say tie for the most, is one David Bailey out of Texas Tech. Now, I will tell you this. We did get a pretty upsetting report yesterday that most likely he's not going to be able to make it past the Tennessee Titans at number 4. But if he does and he manages to fall all the way down to 14, I am wasting no time in drafting that guy. If you want to know the player you're going to get in David Bailey, just go ahead and watch their tape, watch the film from their playoff game against Oregon. On the biggest stages against a really damn good offensive line, David Bailey was at his best. Free agency, Jalen Phillips. I've said Jalen Phillips' name probably 173 times over the past few months on this channel because this was a guy I was wanting them to pull the trigger on a trade in early November. They ended up not doing it. He went to Philadelphia, had a really good end to his season. He is now a free agent, and I would be very, very, very welcoming to Jalen Phillips in Baltimore. Reuben Bain Jr. This is the guy that I would have tied with David Bailey. They both have their pros. They both have their weaknesses. I'd say one of Ruben Bain's pros is the fact that he can also play a little bit on the interior because he's got a little bit of a bigger body. One of his weaknesses, he's going to get knocked on this a lot in the combine, mark my words. He has T-Rex arms, right? Now, not like super short T-Rex arms, but short for an NFL edge rusher. So that's going to be something people freak out and overreact about. But, man, 83 pressures in 16 games. Unbelievable numbers. He was wreaking havoc every single playoff game in their run to play for the national championship. Also in free agency, Trey Hendrickson. It might be a hot take. I don't think I'm super duper interested in Trey Hendrickson. I get that. That's crazy. But 31 years old, missing, double-digit games because of a back injury. I don't know how much I'm buying into that, especially because that buy-in price would be pretty dang high. And then Keldrick Falk is my last guy, edge rusher out of Auburn. The stats aren't going to overwhelm you, but that's really because, he was double-teamed every single snap all season long because he had such a great freshman and sophomore year. But, man, all the tools are there. He reminds me a little bit of a guy like James Pierce Jr., had a really great freshman sophomore season, took a little bit of a dip his junior year, but that was because, every ounce of attention offensively was on stopping that guy. That's going to do it for today's show. Make sure you guys got me followed on socials, Twitter, Instagram. I'm also here every single day, okay? We're going to be back with another video later today, so I will see you guys then. So that way you guys get notified when we post it. Turn on those notifications as well.